Okay, Dad. Can you describe to me what the antediluvian world was and what antediluvian means?
Ante, diluvian, it means the civilization before the flood. You find today there's a lot of discovery. In fact, I wrote a brief book just discussing back in 2005, 2006 on cities under the sea. There were at that time about 100 discoveries of cities, pyramids, streets,
Mm-hmm.
ruins under the oceans, under the Black Sea, but under the Atlantic, in the Atlantic, the Pacific, elsewhere, the Indian Ocean. The antediluvian world is actually what marine archaeologists are studying, but they don't believe in the scripturals. So they're studying, they're raising questions about a place like Antarctica,
Mm-hmm.
the Arctic, that have, they might have like a mile high of ice on top of them. Well, it was once water
Mm-hmm.
that suddenly froze. But they're finding that there's evidence of civilization underneath there, evidence of temperate zone. A temperate zone meaning a more favorable climate at one point.
Okay, yeah.
Now, what's happening is that there's a lot of historians. They're finding that there was a genius in the structure of the pyramids, these vast cities that are under the ocean, all over the world. Now there's hundreds of them that they've discovered. And so what you hear postulated is that, well, aliens did that because man is presumed to be primitive, just arising out of the caveman era,
Yeah.
so that he can't be advanced. Well, I beg to differ. The Bible teaches that man was advanced from the very beginning of his existence. He moved towards civilization rapidly as the numbers of people increased.
Mm-hmm.
The antediluvian world shows that. That world was destroyed by the Noahic flood. The language of the flood is borne out in the geology of what we find in the continents around the world. The flood, it wasn't just a flood, it was volcanic, it was earthquake, it was massive flooding. It was the fountains of the great deep were broken up, which, by the way, I know of no document in the ancient world that knows that other than the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find these 40,000 miles worth of fountains of water, hot water still coming up from the floor of the ocean.
Okay.
The Bible describes that the fountains of the great deep burst. They broke open, about 40,000 miles of them now that we know of. All of that broke open of a sudden, and civilization, after God closed Noah and his family, and of course the animals in the ark,
Mm-hmm.
civilization, once the cataclysm began, civilization was gone in probably about 5 to 10 minutes, if it took that long. The
Okay.
Yeah, for example, right now they're talking about all these massive volcanic these craters underneath Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're afraid they're going to blow. They're going to blow up,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't realize they already have. All over the world, there's these massive. Yellowstone is a crater. All over the world, there's hundreds of these, if not thousands. And they were massive volcanoes. They went off. The tsunamis that were formed they weren't 100 feet high. They were several thousand feet high. And you see that you can see it in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. It's a ridge that goes down the base of the Atlantic between the Africa and the Western and the African continents.
Mm-hmm.
Mid-Atlantic Ridge is a massive crack that broke open, and the mountains rose. The scriptures actually, literally in Hebrew, it says the mountains rose, the valleys fell. You see it in the scarring, mountains suddenly rising. You see it in the burn marks of friction of the mountains, rock going through rock as the mountains are erected. Now, geologists don't like that because it challenges their evolutionary beliefs and then would force them to come to grips with the God of Scripture. Unbelief has its biases,
Mm-hmm.
its prejudices too. It isn't neutral.
Correct.
The point is the
Yeah.
antediluvian world shows advanced civilization all over the world buried. For example, off the western coast of Cuba at the 1900 foot level. There's a civilization down there in ruins. All over the world you find that. Well, assuming the water is 6 stone level, how'd they get there? How did the water cover them all? There's only one explanation, and evolution doesn't have it. So all those that are studying, the genius of that world, the pyramids that are underneath the water, underneath Antarctica, if that's true, all over the world, pyramids and cities and ruins. What happened to all those? They were genius up front. Evolution has no answer to that.